What's going on, FA Nation? Justin Fensterman back with you, and as we head towards the pivotal Week 15 of the fantasy football season, let's talk trendy players. Let's talk fantasy football production potential. We'll talk about some of the players trending up and down when it comes to our fantasy football stock watch. Let's get right to the report. First, a few players trending up. Hunter Renfrow. Renfrow has been in this piece before trending up, but over the last month, his production has skyrocketed to the stratosphere. In PPR leagues with 6 points per touchdown reception, Renfrow has compiled nearly 95 fantasy points in his last 4 weeks. The only receivers to outperform him during this stretch are Justin Jefferson, Deontay Johnson, and Davante Adams. He's tied for 5th most receptions for wide receivers, and he's caught 8 or more passes for over 100 yards in 3 straight games. He catches over 81% of the passes thrown his way, and he's received 23% of the Raiders' target share or more in 4 of his last 5 contests. Renfrow has over 100 targets this year and received 24 collectively in his last 2 games. Up next, trending up, Mike Williams. Williams has been on the other side of the stock watch report, trending down, and even though he was able to benefit from Keenan Allen being out in Week 14, Williams has produced double figures in PPR leagues in 3 of his last 4 games. We've seen Williams get targeted more since Week 10, and we're seeing the results. Only 11 more receivers have posted more receiving yards than Williams in the last 4 weeks. He's contributed 60-plus yards receiving in 3 of his last 4 battles. Justin Herbert has been very accurate over his last handful of games, completing at least 73% of his passes in 3 of his last 4 contests. Final player trending up, Leonard Fournette. He's scored 6 touchdowns total in his last 3 weeks, and even though his effectiveness on the ground has been up and down this season, Fournette is finding himself being utilized more in the Buccaneers' passing attack. He's caught 6 or more passes in 4 of his last 5 games after being targeted just 6 times once in his first 8 battles of the season. Fournette has caught 62 passes, the most for any running back, and ranks 4th among running backs with 421 receiving yards. He has a safe enough floor in the Bucs' passing attack. Now players trending down. Let's start with Devontae Smith, with Jalen Hurts and his 60% completion percentage back in action for the Eagles' divisional matchup against the Washington football team. It's hard to expect an enormously high ceiling for Smith because Hurts has thrown more than 24 passes 1 time in his last 5 games. While Smith owns 21.6% of the Eagles' targets, we've seen him receive 4 targets in both of his last 2 games with 2 different quarterbacks under center. He caught 2 passes in both games. That's it. We've seen Smith receive 7 or more targets in 5 of the Eagles' first 7 games and hasn't received 7 since Week 7. That's called unlucky 7s right there. Next player trending down, Hunter Henry. Mac Jones threw 3 passes, 3 in Week 13. And, of course, Henry put up a 0. The Patriots have had an effective ground game, and Mac Jones, despite completing over 70% of his passes for the year, has thrown more than 26 balls once in the Patriots' last 5 games. While Henry does have 7 touchdown receptions this season, he's caught more than 2 passes once in his last 7 contests. He's hit double figures in PPR once in his last 6 outings. Even though the Colts have surrendered a lot of yards to tight end this year, Henry is still a very risky option as the Patriots look to rely on their rushing attack more and more. Final faller, Alex Collins. It was nice being able to turn back the clock to 2017 and seeing Alex Collins get volume, but it's not Week 7 anymore, and we've seen Collins lose carries in recent weeks and now being given just 7 in both of his last 2 games he was active for. Seattle will likely go with the hot hand if one can even heat up for more than a week, and a lot of focus this week will be put on the oft-injured Rashad Penny after a monstrous Week 14 performance in which he outcarried Collins 16-7. Penny was on the field for 57% of the Seahawks snaps, while Collins was out there for just 23%. That is another fantasy football stock watch, FA Nation. For those fighting for their season, for those fighting for their playoff lives, good luck. Stick it with the family that sticks together, wins together. We got you covered at fantasyalarm.com. Good luck, and let's win those rings.